Welcome to season number 4 of Fuelcast TV. We've gone through a couple of iterations. Murphy's Law is how we started, and this silly ass thing started because of a lawsuit and a shutdown with the Iron Pig and all this silly stuff. But here we are now in our 4th season, and I'm so grateful that the first guest I get to have, he's taken time out of his day. I consider him a friend. He's come up here to Northern Michigan and done a show for us right after the tornado. Let me see if I can bring him in. Mr. Dave Landau. There he is.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, man. So, Dave Landau, Michigan native, international touring comedian. Like I said, grateful to have him up here in Northern Michigan for our Fuel Fest that we had a couple of years ago. Dave is a Fuel Pass NFT ambassador. So those of you that know what the Fuel Pass is, thank you. Thank you for contributing. Those that don't know, we do have an NFT set up to fund our legal actions that are ongoing. But anyways, host of a great new show. Shouldn't even say new. I mean, it's been on since, April or something at least.
No, it's pretty new. June 20th was our
June,
first
yeah,
day.
okay. So
Yeah.
Normal World on Blaze TV. I think you're also on YouTube. I've seen some as well, but go to Blaze TV. That's really where it originates from. My friend Dave Landau. Thanks for taking the time, dude.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. You've left a former show. You've started and created your own with Quarter Black Garrett.
Yes.
I think this is a wonderful avenue for you to strike out on your own, get to do your own content. You don't have to be under somebody else's thumb. So I haven't had a chance to discuss it with you much, but how's it going, getting to be kind of your own boss?
It's good so far. I mean, it's certainly a different element of pressure, but I've been able to put out the things that I want to put out. We've been able to have kind of a variation of what we want to do, kind of a panel show, talk show, because it kind of became a late night show because
Yeah.
it's very difficult to produce a sketch show every week that's, a half an hour long and then still have
Right.
ads and all, there's so many things, so many variables, but we still put out probably 2-3 sketches a week for people. And we do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights. I think we're the only show, like, other than Bill Maher right now, that's going back into late night. So we're just doing what we do. We have a very, very small crew. We probably have about 6 people that work on the entire show. There's like nobody in the building. We film in the old Paramount studio where they filmed RoboCop and like Born on the 4th of July and JFK.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's really awesome, like, to have your own studio in there. And yeah, it's just figuring it out. And so far we've really had fun, and it's a learning experience to do it on your own, because I've always been part of somebody else's show and a touring stand-up comic.
Sure.
And this one's now mine. And it's, I should say ours, but it's definitely, you get blamed for it when something goes wrong,
Definitely,
publicly.
I bet.
So yeah, but it's been really cool. And we've been lucky to have a lot of great people on the show, from Kurt Metzger to musical artists like Maxwell Hughes and Matt McClowry, who's from Dearborn.
Yeah.
And one of my openers is, one of the head writers with me. So he and I kind of focus everything on the comedy on the show. And it's been cool. It's been really cool.
And I think it's a great move to kind of, whether it was intended or not, to kind of move into that late night space, to add a little bit of political commentary in the panel portion of it too. Clearly there is some space to be explored there. Obviously, you mentioned Bill Maher. He's been awfully successful in that space, and it sounds like his show is coming back. I'm a big fan of his. I have been since Politically Incorrect, but
I'm the same way. Politically Incorrect is largely one of the things I looked at when building my own show. So yeah, people can say politics or whatever they like or don't, but I've always actually admired what he does because he is true to who he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And he put the money where the money is, or whatever you want to say, because he ultimately gave up PI in order to kind of do his own thing. So not a lot of people are willing to do that. So I think modeling after that show was probably a pretty good idea. So so being and so where Blaze TV is where it is at. You can also catch it on YouTube, right? Um,
Yeah, we have some stuff behind the paywall, question and answer segments. We're gonna start doing more movie segments where we watch and react, some stuff just for paywall subscribers. But right now we've been putting everything on YouTube as well, which is just youtube.com/at normal world. And that's anybody can watch it there. It's free. Subscribe, please. And we just started the YouTube page in June 20th. We're hitting about 70,000 subscribers, which is great for a new show, but we're just trying to get bigger and bigger. And we're adding new people every day, which is really, it's just nice to see it grow.
are you, and this is just a sidebar question, actually, kind of maybe just more for me. Are you guys also publishing to Rumble or any of the other alternative platforms to YouTube?
Not not Rumble. I don't want to like. It's odd to say like there. I can't see like I have to look at Rumble and see the actual return
Sure.
and the actual truth in numbers to be able to like look at advertising. And I think there's kind of a huge thing of like Rumble's about freedom, and it's like, is it? Because I don't know if it is. I think there's kind of a push for that.
And
And
I'm curious. I was just curious about that too, because we do publish to Rumble, but we don't get, we get a sliver of the views that we get from YouTube on Rumble. So and that's just kind of why I was curious. Um,
yeah, I don't know how authentic they are. And it's like, and I know the YouTube overlords and the stuff you can get pulled down for, but so far, I mean, knock on wood, we've been pretty lucky, but we're not saying anything that I think is
yeah, that
directly.
was going to be my next comment was, yeah, I don't think you're really entering a world of commentary where they're going to need to silence you, maybe as the host of the former show. So the other
Yeah,
thing, so what I actually want to get your take on too is we've been having a lot of conversations about how you basically cannot get a blue ski mask anywhere from Amazon right now, and everybody is blaming the Detroit Lions for this. Have you heard about this?
no, but that's incredible. It's because
So the turnover ski mask is now going to become a thing, and some of the Detroit Lions players are telling. So for the home opener, which is I think coming up tomorrow. So when this comes out, it'll probably already happen, and we'll already have a Lions win.
that's
But
the hope. Yes.
they're talking about it's going to be like a blue mask out kind of thing, and you basically cannot get a blue ski mask like anywhere on the internet right now, which I find that hard to believe. But how about our Detroit Lions, man?
I think that's incredible. Seeing as you could buy a Detroit Lions autograph or jersey or season
Yeah,
tickets for under $5 for easily the cost of a blue ski mask in any prior season. It's nice.
so true.
I love it. I was on a flight when they beat Kansas City, and my phone wasn't working, so I kept I couldn't get the internet on it, and the guy next to me was watching it, so I'm like watching his laptop with him, and we were both just like, this is incredible. And just to still win by one, a team that I didn't think they were gonna beat. Like I thought there was a chance for the first time,
Yeah, and
but
a come from behind win, and
yeah,
I mean, and we did battle the referees once again. It seems like because it could have been a million holding calls,
yeah,
but it was funny to read the social media reactions after that game, and so many people are like the Kool Aid Man, like I'm just ready to go through a wall right now because I'm so jacked up about the Detroit Lions. So I want to get your maybe I even shouldn't, but if you had to give a prediction on this season after this first game going into, what we're looking at with the turnover blue mask situation, it seems like some really, really good buzz. But if you had to get, I mean, do you think the Lions are going to make the playoffs this year?
I'm gonna say yes, and it's because I think Dan Campbell is insane.
He's a beast, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think they're afraid to not win for him. I'd be.
I kind of would be too, and they're taking on sort of this persona of kind of the lines against everybody else. Detroit versus everyone, and I think that that's probably a good stance to take. And it's like we fans kind of feel the same way. Like, let's go. We're done. We're done being last place. Let's get somewhere with this team, and we've got a hell of a chance to do it.
when you see people that are like they have good sportsmanship, and I'll meet them on the road, and they're like, "I really hope your Lions do it." Like, there's still the people who get very angry and are so protective of their own teams that they just wish you death no matter what. But I feel it's kind of like that Red Sox thing where
Right.
I wanted them to win. I think America wanted them to win. You know what I mean? Like it was they were due. And I don't know how anybody can look at the Detroit Lions and not be like, "Come on, let's just root for this once." Like, can we get
Right.
one ever? Like, it seems strange to not be on board. And most of the people who I've met who are like into football, have like a good attitude, are just like, and I hope they make it. I really hope they make it. You guys deserve it. Because we're not fair weather fans because we've never had fair weather.
Yes.
So and that's it was so many of our teams. Like, we've had great teams, but they don't ever even with hockey time, or when it became when the Wings took over in the 90s, like, we had to get KGB soldiers and all kind, like, we really went out of our way to make
That's
sure we
right.
had a winning team. Like, we went to whole new lengths to be able to win. And this is just good coaching and really strong players.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I have to say really quick while I hook up a thing here to my
Yeah.
laptop. Um, it's fun to watch. It's hopefully they keep marching towards the playoffs. We get into the playoffs, have a good showing in the playoffs. I'm not about to jinx anything, but I'll get a I'll take the first opportunity I get to go down and see these guys play. It's been a while since I've been down to Detroit to see a professional sports game since the Tigers last season. So I'm due for a little bit of professional football in Detroit. So we'll see
Yeah,
what happens.
I bring my son down periodically. So, and Drew and Mike gave me tickets to his. He had really nice seats, and I brought my son a couple weeks ago, and it was a blast to go to the Tigers game. I mean, I didn't think they were going to win, and they didn't, but it's just fun because my son's in travel baseball, and it's just cool to watch. You know,
There is something about a live game versus watching it on TV. Baseball, especially, I think Detroit is a fun team to watch. And I get spoiled a lot. A lot of our vendors will come along. Our Miller Lite reps will say, "Hey, we've got sweet tickets, two of them, two passes with this, that, and the other." And it's really hard to turn those down. Um,
yeah, your Bud
so
Light reps who are weird and women and men.
yes,
Anyway, go on. Sorry.
no, no, no.
I'm kidding.
So let's one of the other things that I wanted to catch your take on is so recently it's hard to even bring this up with a straight face, but I'll try. Hunter Biden's gun crimes.
Yes.
What it's okay, so I actually have not I've been following some of this stuff and whatever, and I've heard that he was gonna be indicted for so it was possession of wait, so he attempted to get a gun
It
and
was
then he
three. It's three firearms charges, I believe, altogether.
and they're pretty legit charges, right?
Oh yeah, they're like we've known about them for years.
How why is it taking so long for these indictments to come down? Like what it if you had to guess why it has taken so forget about all the others. I know it's hard to all the other
Yeah,
stuff with the laptop and all the other BS and all the other stuff that's happening. I mean,
which
these
is
are like
legit as
legitimate.
well, like which is very legit as well. But sorry, that's
No, no, no. I just how is anybody supposed to take these people seriously when there's these obvious crimes that have been committed, whether or not you agree with gun laws or whatever he's being charged with, but they're on the books and he violated them. Why the hell is it taking so long? Like, are they just slow pedaling because of Sleepy Joe?
of course. I mean, it's a very strange time we're living in. I mean, I guess I could give kind of a long-winded answer, but I mean, the reality is he's the president. We've been taken over by that. It wasn't really. I feel he was given to us. I guess I could say that on a platform, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, we were awarded with him, and you have Kamala in second place, so we don't want to get rid of him. Like, and that's another terrifying thing because you have a guy who now he's just rambling. Now it's just I taught at Penn State for 4 years, and nodding off during, ceremonies for deceased people in Hawaii. And it's like, it's not good anymore. This is the president. Like, it's no longer acceptable. Like, he's seriously, they find
It's
code.
so strange. Actually, I just saw the Libertarian Party just filed for conservatorship over Joe Biden and who Mitch McConnell, I think,
Yeah.
which I thought was an interesting tactic, actually.
Well, the guy's having mini strokes every time he goes to talk or whatever it is. And it's not okay. It's
Dude, it's
just,
hard to watch.
yes. And that can't be the leaders of the free world. I mean, we're not, you can't just run around and go rah rah, we're the greatest country in the world anymore when this is what's going on. It's just impossible to say because we're not. And I mean, I know a lot of people are going to get pissed off at me saying that, but look, we've been locked down. We're supposed to be a people in control of our government. We're not right
Mhm.
now. The government is in charge of all of us. They're throwing people in jail for for crimes like, look, I don't care what people think about January 6th personally, and I have my own opinions on it where, yeah, I think a lot of people overdid things that day, and I think, but it's also, you're being waved in a building and people are getting 30 years in prison for not being there. That's examples. And the
Yeah,
reason why Hunter's not being brought up on charges is because of money and power. There's the only two reasons why he's not. He's been able to get away with what he's been able to get away with because he comes from that hierarchy, that elite hierarchy that is in control of everything. Otherwise, how do you ignore all those crimes? You're leaving guns in a trash can outside of a school. There's a call that Joe made to his son. And that call, to me, even though most people don't care because they're straight out of sympathy at this point for the Bidens if you're
yeah,
on the right, I feel bad because it is a dad still breaking for his son. Like, I could barely muster up, like, I
yeah.
couldn't even make fun of it because it's clearly just a guy who wants his kid to get well, but has done a
Right.
terrible, and so it's like I even have that level of empathy for him as a drug addict and everything else. But part of it is, who's responsible? Like, I understand that he's a grown man.
Yeah.
I get it, but you've treated him like a spoiled teenager his whole life and let him get away with literally everything. And now you want him to deal with these repercussions, which he's never had to have.
Right.
So
Right.
that's another element of it where it's like, is it really his fault or is it the fault of the entire government hiding this, dealing with this, funneling money from China, which is now proven that's not something
Yep.
that we
Yeah.
can't
Right.
say. Like, it's a reality. The people that are in charge of us are screwing us day in and day out. And what are we hearing now while this is going on? Oh, there's more COVID. Let's think about maybe remasking. Let's start putting that fear back into people. And it's like, America, at least I know the ones 75, 80% of them are not going to stop. They're not going to stop working, and it's going to be
Right.
it's a revolution at that point because
There's some things going on. So first I'll say about Hunter Biden, I think it's the beginning of a narrative to basically not have Joe on the ticket, or a reason for the Dems to pull him from the ticket and maybe somehow not have a primary.
that's why they're
Um,
starting to let it out. Yes.
right? So, and then here in Michigan, what's happening is a lot of the county commissioners and the county commissions are starting to, and so there was just an article that came out uh, yesterday or the day before, a couple days ago, about Livingston Township. The commissioners have just issued 8-0, basically a proclamation that the health department, won't lock them down and issue mandates and that kind of stuff. Ottawa County is in the new national headlines because of some things that they're trying to do to their budget for the health department. And that's where we just filed a lawsuit, and I actually haven't talked to you about it, but we filed a lawsuit that by court rule has to go back to the judge that gave us our unconstitutional ruling against the state health director. The local health director has the exact same authority to do what the state health director did. And that's what these county commissioners are worried about. And here in our health district, which covers 4 counties, they ousted the health director after she unilaterally put masks on the school kids in the fall of 2022. So these other counties are starting to catch on, and now that you're talking about COVID coming back, they're like, no, no, no,
Good.
we're not having any part of it. But our lawsuit actually pulls away that unilateral power, and we should succeed here in our health district, but it only covers our 4 health districts. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in these other ones, and maybe we figure out a way to go file in all of the other health districts in Michigan, kind of a storm the castle approach. But you're right, people just aren't having it. The science, more science, I guess, is out about the ineffectiveness of masks, and what do they just issue a new vaccine and all this other stuff, and do whatever the hell you want. I don't really care, but don't mandate things, right? Don't make me do things, suggest things. That's fine. But that's what I always said with the restaurant was, if you feel comfortable enough coming and dining out during these times, we're going to give you an opportunity to do that.
And
And it just seems like more people are catching on to that.
And that's all it should be. And if you feel like you're comfortable taking the vaccine or the booster, I have my own issues against it because, look, again, I've talked about this ad nauseum, but my mom was an RN. I grew up in a family. I totally understand vaccines and what they're good for. I don't understand if you're going to change the definition of it. I don't understand if you're going to get the cold 3 different times. If Biden can get over it, why the hell should I worry about it?
Right.
My son has had it. He didn't even feel it. I never got it, for as far as I know. So I can't grasp it. I can't grasp it at all because it's nothing more than a politicized cold, and that's what it's come down to me, because I haven't seen any evidence otherwise. And calling people grandma killer because they won't wear a mask or get a vaccine, or putting this sort of this sort of like I don't know, this sort of this anti-vax like point on people who aren't necessarily what you would think that would be. And that's not against anybody who's Christian. I am, but people look at that as like this bad thing, and
Right.
often those are the people who are anti-vaxxers. And it's like, this is not. I know people of every walk of life who are very concerned about this. I mean, you have somebody like Ice Cube rolling around with Tucker Carlson talking about how he can't get in. By the way, Tucker Carlson has never looked more white than in that video. But
it's so right. So right.
Yeah, and I like both of them, don't get me wrong. But it was like, wow, you look like a white guy named Tucker right now. But you hear somebody like Ice Cube and other people who have a sensible distrust of authority, and always have and should have. And we're looking at them like they're the enemy. And it's like, that's not the enemy. Do not just jump in with the masses and think that's the right choice, because history's proven it never is.
It defied logic to me, because when the whole thing from the beginning, when I got labeled a COVID denier and a Trumper and all this crazy stuff, simply because I chose to keep the restaurant open. I never said I was anti-mask or anti-vaccine once it came along, but it sure was easy for a lot of people to put me in that category. And of course, I don't care. That sounds like their problem. I'm a libertarian, so I get to make fun of both parties, or the uniparty, depending on how you look at it.
Right.
But it was just a kind of an easy way for people to silo me and other people that kind of mistrust or distrust government. And that's just how I was raised. I mean, I actually used to be a Democrat when I was a kid, and then I started my own business, and I suppose that's when I became more of a Republican, and I started seeing what the hell was going on with some of the Republicans and wars and all these other crazy things. And it's like, boy, we're not taking care of our own. And I like limited government, and that's where I've stood from the beginning. And a lot of people have a hard time with that. There's so many people out simping for big government and for mandates, and for them to tell you what to do and how to feel and how to take care of yourself. Suggestions are fine, but in my opinion, if you want to talk about health, you really need to be talking about the actual health crises that are going on, in our country or in our state, at least, because, not every state was locked down, right? I forget, were you in New York during the lockdown?
I was, yes.
That's what I
I
thought.
was. And no, and you're right with that in big government. I mean, if you look at with the health issue, all right, Michigan is a perfect example of this because all right, drive down a street and don't break your tires open on a pothole. Drive
Right.
down somewhere where there's not construction constantly, and we act like we're the only state with that kind of weather. You can drive to several other states with the exact same weather with perfectly fine roads. That's a government in charge of that. That's who you want in
Yep.
charge of your health. People that can't even keep up with like something as simple as roads. And I understand being democratic. I was raised in a house where my dad was in Vietnam, so he had a very I would say more libertarian viewpoint. But if anything, it was because he got sick from Agent Orange and ended up dying from it. Like he had a like, and the government didn't help. You know, he had a he taught me a very healthy distrust of question everything. Not so,
Yep.
not even a distrust, but it's like everything is not what it seems. And, sometimes like I remember seeing JFK when I was like 8 in the movie theater, and now I'm in the studio that made it. And it's like, it's probably too young, but at the time I did learn that everything is not what it seems.
Yep.
And that is what I think is very important for people. And when you look at like the health issue, you look at everybody who's in the government going, we need to talk about the mental health crisis. Okay, let's talk about it. You shut it down in the 80s. Everybody's been outside of mental hospitals and mental health care since the 80s. People who can't wash themselves, take care of themselves. Now you have to put that on the police forces. So think of what you like about, you may like the police or not. That's not their job. That's not the
Yep.
medical field. And these people aren't criminals, they're sick. So now you have something like Skid Row in LA, where I used to live, that when I first lived there 20 years ago was one block and is now an entire city of tents and people that are mentally ill not being cared for. And they go, well, let's talk about it. Well, yeah, let's talk about it. Why is it everywhere? Why have you done nothing about it? And then when you're walking around with 10 cities, people defecating on the sidewalk, all this other stuff that's going on, and then you're telling me we have to put on a mask because COVID's out. It's like it's
Right.
insane because it's like you don't care about health, you don't care about mental
Right.
health, you don't care about any of their well-being, you don't care about anybody's well-being. Why would I believe anything that you have to say at this point? When once they shut everything down for me personally, knowing restaurant owners like yourself and some of my good friends, once it became okay, build a restaurant outside they can eat on a patio. Okay, now we need you to cover the restaurant. It's like, so you want me to make it a second restaurant? Like I had a covered
Dude,
restaurant. It was
I
called a restaurant.
I love that you say that because it was so insane. They issued guidelines on what constituted an outdoor patio, like two sides, and it cannot be two. It was the dumbest thing. I mean, I'm on the record saying that they will look back at this time, and this is the dumbest time in history that we are living in right now, the last couple of years. And I don't know that it's getting any better, to be honest.
No, because they don't want it to get better. I mean, that's education, that's anything. That's I remember being in New York at the time when everything first got shut down. And they started building restaurants outside on the sidewalks in an overcrowded city. So now you just have
Yeah.
cab drivers driving into these restaurants, hitting people. Then there's also homeless people who are mentally ill outside who are now just living on abandoned furniture from office buildings. Like we had one that we used to call like I forget what we call it, like the congregation or whatever, because it was just like three prostitutes and like a couple other like it was like right by Times Square, and they would just sit at like this conference table that was clearly like 10 grand, but the place went under. And then they just set it outside, and now it was just them. They had it. And you're looking at this and you're going, in no way is this solving anything. And
No.
it's not, it's doing nothing but stirring a problem. And at the time, de Blasio was there, and you had Cuomo, and just to watch these politicians and the power that I shouldn't say they have, but they were taking and believing that they had
Yeah.
was one of the most disturbing things I'd ever encountered. Because I live in Harlem, and people are like, "Oh, Harlem." I'm like, "It's fine." I grew up in the Detroit area. There's nothing wrong with Harlem. It was fine.
Right.
I enjoyed it. It was perfectly fine. But when COVID hit, everywhere got dangerous. Everything turned back into what it once was, and the fact that they want to try to do it again, right when we're like if this was it before the pandemic, we're here, and it's like you want to kick it down again, and kick us down again, and kick us
Right.
down again. Why? There's no benefit to this unless you seriously just want to destroy the middle class permanently, if it's not already. Because
Right.
I can't say it's not when houses are 600 grand for a 3 bedroom on a 9% interest rate.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have had one of the largest transfers of wealth, if not the largest transfer of wealth in 2020 through 22.
Yes.
So, you know, there's one last thing I want to get just your quick thoughts on. And the only reason is because we're getting ready to put together a fundraiser for the fires out in Lahaina. Have you been following any of that stuff? I mean, it's so hard to get. This blows my mind, dude. Why do we not have more information about what is going on the ground over there? It seems like they're blockading, reporters, and there's barricades up and non-government vehicles and stuff. I
And
don't.
people that are wealthy and own property painting their houses different colors, and there's a lot of bizarre things happening, and that's not
What
just,
has dude? What has happened to reporting? Like, where is journalism anymore? Like,
yeah.
is government just so big that and corporate media is so big that FedGov can basically tell these large media outlets what to and what not to report on? I mean, we know this kind of, with some of the Twitter file stuff that had come out, but I mean, it seems just unbelievable that in our own country, in Hawaii, we can't get information about a fire. Like, what the hell?
And CNN, of course, CNN recently, it was, I want to say a month ago, admitted to like Joe Biden's polls being down. Like, you're like, oh, are you for real? So, yes, there is certainly something with media, but right now, the information we're getting no information. Here's the other part I don't understand. It's an island, right? Why aren't you don't have access to water?
Right.
What's happening? Like, I mean, am I crazy? Like, because I do believe that I understand it's large scale, but an ocean's bigger.
Right.
You have access right there to salt water, which we don't use to drink.
People were going out into the water to escape the flames.
Yes.
Like it's unbelievable to me that this happened. So we're like trying to get information about how to for this fundraiser, how to best. We're working with Rescue Mission that's in Lahaina. We're also working with the Lahaina Yacht Club, because a lot of wealthy people, like you said, do live in that area, and a lot of their money is spent in that community. Well,
Right.
we're trying to figure out the best way. Rescue Mission is the best way to do it, but we're just having difficult time getting information on what people need and how they are supposed to rebuild their community, right? I mean, there's parts that have just been demolished. It's just unbelievable to me that we cannot get more information about what has gone on there. And it's no
No.
surprise that the media is just asleep at the wheel on this thing.
Well, and why is there no comment on how? And it's not even the wealthy is what I mean. When you look at certain celebrities, I don't know, Oprah, name out of a hat, or some other people in that area, BlackRock properties, people buying up the properties right now, things that are happening that they're extraordinarily shady. Why can't we get all the information on that? I mean, we're getting some enough to know that something's happening, but it seems odd that something would be destroyed and then another group that has been buying up property like crazy just is all of a sudden there
It's
picking
so
up the
weird.
property in the middle of a disaster.
It's so strange. I've never thought that we would be living in a time where, and this is actually why I think your show is brilliant.
Thank you.
It's satire, and some of it is very close to home. And I think, obviously, I think you're doing that on purpose. And there are some things that I have a feeling that you're probably doing now that a year or so or 2 years down the road could become as absurdly true as some of these things. If you were to say that there was a hurricane and a forest fire that burnt down a city in Maui. If you were to say that to any of us 2 years ago, we'd have been like, what the hell are you talking about? That's crazy. That
Right.
seems like a conspiracy theory. Well, here we are. I just never thought we'd be sitting in a time when you stack up all of these things together and there's absolutely no trust. There's no trust in media. There's no trust in public health. There's like no trust in government. And those that do trust are just like lambs to the slaughter. And I don't know any way out of it except for just laughing about it. I mean,
Well, that's all we do. Yeah, is we write we'll write a sketch that's one step away from a reality where,
yep.
we had a news sketch where there's a tornado and where we blame it, tornadoes are caused by the systematic racism of our society. And then we have, and we did one that was on,
Wait, it's not?
oh no, it's crazy. We did one that it was an actual FBI report about how white supremacy and physical fitness were tied hand in hand, and then they were talking to black people who were physically fit, and you're like, do you not know who you're looking at? So like our entire sketch was we just did a thing where it's like, the FBI headquarters and I'm in charge of it, and I'm basically trying to catch these new white supremacists in America, which is the Thunder from Down Under sort of people from Australia that are sneaking in just because they're in great shape. And what we do is we take one thing, we just take it a little bit, we take it a step further than reality. But all we do is seriously look at a news story and just make it. Like, we're not exaggerating it that much. That's what's so scary about it.
Right.
And right now, like what you said with Hawaii, with that going on, we're living in a time now where you have an unwanted amount of information being given to you. But then for some reason, you can't get the information that you want. You've never had more access to anything, to
Right.
information like you do today. But then when you really need the info on something, it's hidden. And that's so troubling that
Yes.
that I can't even wrap my mind around it. And yeah, the only thing I can do is make fun of it because it is being hidden from you. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you're definitely on the right track for whatever that is worth, my silly ass opinion.
No,
But
honestly, I appreciate it. I could be wrong. And then again, I could be, clipped by a 3-letter agency for being a comic. So
it's funny that you say that because we put out a T-shirt a few months ago that says I'm on a government watch list, and it's hard to imagine that at some point I wasn't put on a government watch list here in Michigan, being that I had 5 government agencies trying to shut me down at one point. So
right.
nothing again. Very satirical, but nothing is, it's just a sliver away from actually being true. But
yes, I'm serving barbecue.
yeah,
that's seriously it, man. That's not even
dude. There was never. They had to admit this on the record. There was never even contact tracing in my restaurant. There was never COVID in my restaurant. But I was such this bad guy that I had to shut me down. But I got the last laugh in that one, and I'm still getting the laugh on that one to bring it full circle. But I appreciate your time today, dude. Thank you so much. I know you gotta run, you got a show to get done tonight. So
yes, sir.
Thank you for carving out a piece of your afternoon. So anybody that wants to catch, so I gotta promote one more thing for you, dude. Prison 10. If you have not seen Dave's stand-up show, A Prison 10, go check it out at prison10.com. I think it's maybe still $10 or something like that to download.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's about to go to streaming. But right now, it's still for sale. Yeah,
go to davelandau.com for everything, all of your tour dates. I think you're going to be. I got it written down here because I wanted to plug it for you, dude. Myrtle Beach, 22nd, 23rd at the. Dude, what is that? The Wonders
Theater? Yeah,
Wonders Theater.
Yeah,
my handwriting is so bad. I'm taking notes, and my handwriting is so bad.
But
22nd, 23rd, and then what? Dallas, Texas.
Dallas the 27th, and then Lexington, Michigan, and Bay City.
Is that Hyenas Comedy Club?
Hyenas, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye out for you coming back to Michigan. I feel like you were maybe just here, but
no, I'll be there. I'll be in Lexington the first week of October. Lexington, Michigan, Lexington Theater, and then Bay City at the State Theater.
DaveLandau.com for everything. that you need. Check out Normal World, subscribe, go to Blaze TV, subscribe, hit the notification button on YouTube, all that stuff. Follow these guys. They are timely, they are hilarious. Dave Landau, Fuel Pass ambassador, my brother, thank you so much for taking the time today to hang out and have a quick chat about some funny stuff.
Oh, dude, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, brother. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.